you're definitely not an overnight success, and you've worked hard. What would you say to people who are sitting with a dream today that are afraid? How would you urge them to be bold enough to look into doing it? I mean, you looked into it with the first online course.
Mhm.
So what would you say to them?
So there's a few things that just have popped into my head. One is this concept of luck. So I know that there are people who look at me and think, oh, she's so lucky. And I've had people say that, oh, she's so lucky. And no question. I mean, I'm a white woman in Canada. I have a supportive family. Like, there's so many things that I have that other people don't. And so I own all of that. But I think we have the power to create our own luck, and people don't recognize that. So one of the things with luck, and there've been studies that have done this, is that luck is being ready and constantly scanning for opportunities. So just to be aware that, and to be able to recognize these opportunities. So the kinds of things that I've done and achievements I've had and things that I've tried in my photography career and also in my teaching career, yes, I've been lucky to have noticed the opportunities, but everyone else had access to those opportunities and they chose not to take them. And that's the difference.
One of the things, now you being a science person and me totally not, I could be, speaking to somebody that's well ahead of the game here, but I did learn through that process of the reticular activation in our retinal acuity, if you will, that you don't see a yellow car until you buy one. So it's the awareness, it's the consciousness. So like people might scratch their head and say, well, you started an online course in July and you're flying off to Vegas. How did you know about that conference? How were you aware of it? But you've just said that, we need to become more conscious and look for the signs, if you will, and there are opportunities for sure, but we don't see things because we're not maybe as aware or as conscious as we need to be. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I think that's the truth. There's a famous study where they put, they gave a newspaper to subjects, and they had asked them before they did the particular, it was a psychology experiment, and they had asked them, do you consider yourself to be lucky or not lucky? And so that was the question beforehand. And then they gave them this newspaper and they told them to count the number of times that something appeared in the paper. I don't remember exactly what it was. You can look it up, but they had to go through this section of the paper and count the number of times. Well, I think like the second, third, or fourth, like very early on in the section, there was a full page ad that they had inserted that said, if you are part of this study, you can stop now. You don't need to count. Just go and tell the person that you saw this ad, and you will get an extra $100 for participating in this.
Okay.
So the people who thought that they weren't lucky went and did the task exactly as assigned. The people who considered themselves lucky had a much higher likelihood of noticing that ad, catching it, and getting the extra $100.
Interesting.
So it's that being aware. It's like, to me, it's like the peripheral vision, right? So the laser focus has its purpose. Laser focus can be awesome, but you also have to have that peripheral vision. And just in that little exercise, the lucky people noticed, and it wasn't hidden. It wasn't like a little tiny thing. It was like a full page, very noticeable if you weren't laser focused on the task.
Right.
And so that was sort of, one of the studies that started addressing, what is luck? It's not some supernatural thing, that we actually are in charge of our own luck.
That's a really good point. So for those people who are feeling frustrated and not seeing the opportunities, I guess the message is, where are you looking?
And well, in the case of the newspaper, it was right there in front of them, but they were so focused, right? So it's I think it's almost like a playful energy in exploring your curiosity and just being less fearful. And that's hard, right? Like, fear is a tough thing and it's paralyzing. And when you asked the question originally, I was thinking about something that my mom, who has passed away, one of her best friends had shared a story with me, that her best friend was in her 40s and she really wanted to be a nurse, and she was afraid. And so my mom said to her, you know, if you sign up and you go through, what will happen in 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I would be a nurse. And then she said, well, what would happen in 5 years if you don't sign up? You'll be 5 years older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like it's just
Yeah.
simple as that. And just that it's okay. I think people are afraid of failure. And I think that maybe that's a scientist way of thinking. Scientists don't think in terms of failures. Everything we do is an opportunity to learn something about
Right.
ourselves.